any person can make enough money doing barely any work using the internet so that they don't have to go to a job all day, every day for the rest of their lives.
Let's face it, allopathic mainstream medicine does not know how to heal the skin, especially when it comes to eczema and psoriasis. Today's guest, Rob Stewart, and I are going to go into this and his personal health journey of someone who struggled with eczema for most of his childhood and adulthood, how he reversed that, and now how he's been helping clients for the last 12 years. This conversation goes in many different directions. We talk about nutrition, but we also talk about things that you might not think are contributing to poor skin health. So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. Stay tuned. A lot of people are quick to talk about the benefits of sunlight, but what gets often missed in the conversation is the benefit of darkness and the importance of protecting yourself from blue and green light after sunset. That is why I choose Viva Rays as my go-to source for protecting my circadian rhythms. You can use the code YOGI to save 15% off at Viva Rays. Now, you may have seen some of these studies popping up. I call them fear-mongering about blue blockers not being effective. And that is a partial truth, because when you use blue blockers that are clear or that have not been tested with a spectrometer to actually block what they say they do, they will not protect your circadian rhythms. And they are not catching those key wavelengths that you need to be blocking in order for your body to be able to repair, for you to make melatonin, which is a master antioxidant. And artificial light at night has been in the scientific literature extensively linked to a host of hormonal cancers, obesity, diabetes, and all sorts of metabolic issues. That, again, is why I choose Viva Rays as my go-to source for protecting my circadian rhythms to allow my body to get adequate darkness at night. You can use the code YOGI to save 15% over at Viva Rays, and you can actually trust that they block the frequencies of light that they say they do. Thanks to Viva Rays for sponsoring today's podcast. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of red light therapy for improving skin health, mitochondrial health, and just boosting your overall energy. I often get asked if the red light therapy face masks are worth it. And to be honest with you, I am really, really choosy when it comes to red light therapy face masks because of two issues. Number one, a lot of the masks actually have really high non-native EMF, which can actually denate any benefits that you're giving your mitochondria. And you really don't want a lot of non-native EMF so close to your head. Number two, a lot of the masks don't really use the therapeutic wavelengths that are shown to improve skin health, boost collagen, and have a therapeutic benefit on skin. So that's why I really like the Bond Charge mask. I've tested it with my meter. It is very low EMF, very safe for the face. And they use the targeted wavelengths that have been shown to improve skin, to boost collagen, and to just help you get that overall glow that you are looking for with a red light therapy mask. Check out the Bond Charge red light therapy mask. You can use my code Sarah Kleiner, all one word, to save. There's a link down in the show notes. It's very easy to use, easy to clean, and it actually works and it's safe. Hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am super excited to have a good friend of mine and a returning guest, Rob, back on the show. And we are going to talk all things eczema. So Rob, welcome back. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a while. I'm ready to get caught up and talk some skin health.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just chatting before I hit record. I've recently shared with my community the struggles that my son had with eczema, and that brought a lot of people out of the woodwork to say, I'm still struggling with eczema. I still have this issue. And so if people haven't heard of you and they haven't seen your story, which I think is quite remarkable, maybe we could just start there and do a brief overview of your backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a typical kid growing up, ginger skin, so susceptible to rashes. And, if someone grabs my arm, the handprint is very visible and red, so I've always had sensitive skin. But as time went on, I started having other issues. Like the sensitive skin became really itchy at certain times, especially like on my sternum and scalp. And around age 9, I was noticing that I was getting a lot of athlete's foot infections. I was getting a lot of weird jock itch. And for a young kid, that's not a thing.
Hmm.
And I was getting like these little red marks on my sternum. And I got strep throat 9 times in that year, constantly on antibiotics, constantly in going to the emergency room. End of that year, end of my third grade year, tonsils removed, and boom, skin health issues. Welcome to my life. Um,
Wow.
and from then on, it was noticeable but manageable. Like the sternum and the scalp, you can kind of cover up, and it's not really that big of a deal. So I kind of ignored it. And my parents are old school. Dad's a Marine, mom's a Irish Catholic. So it's like, if you're not bleeding or broken, just go back outside and keep
You're
playing.
my age too, so I feel like all of us, it was like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
bye. Just go outside.
100%. Growing up in the 90s, it was
Yep.
like, there's the front door. When dinner's ready, don't be late. And that was kind of it.
Be
So
that. Yep.
I kind of dealt with it, no big deal. And then in high school, I'd have these episodes where the seborrheic dermatitis and the eczema on my scalp would just get gnarly and chunky and dandruffy and just itchy. And that was always around football season, putting on the helmets and being in the locker room and all the mold and bacteria and fungus and nasty stuff that, young teenagers guys have.
Hmm.
As I got older, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where at about 24, 25, it was debilitating. It had covered my face, got into my armpits, got in my crotch and my butt, on my feet, on my ankles, but behind my knees, in my scalp, on my sternum. And also had turned into a nervous system autoimmune disease where I was having constant digestional issues. I was losing weight, gaining weight. I was having weird anxiousness, which I never experienced, and then having euphoria. Just every system was just not working correctly. Then around 24, 25, I really just was fed up, going to doctors, getting the same runaround. There is no cure for eczema. Diet has nothing to do with it. The gut biome, yeah, it's important, but
Fumes.
it doesn't really matter. You have two options: drugs or drugs, and that's it. Those are your two options. You can take these types of drugs or those types of drugs, and you'll have it forever. And your symptoms, will just have to manage them. And the drugs kind of work, and we'll have to really spend a lot of money and time figuring that out for the rest of your life. And I was like, screw you. Like
Hmm.
I could feel it in my body. I was like, that's not true. That's bull crap. So devastated, thinking that, like, wow, like I am really screwed. I kind of gave up. And then giving up, you hit rock bottom, and then rock bottom, something happens, God, whatever, and says like, get up off your ass and start figuring this shit out. Like, what else do you have to do? What are you going to cry and complain and whine the rest of your life about your skin? Oh, so I pulled my pants up, pulled my boots up, and I just got to work. And it started off with just doing everything I could to understand the immune system and digestion and what the dermis means and some biology. And that led to studying Ayurveda and yoga therapy. And then I went down natural hygiene, and then plant-based and veganism and cleansing, and the whole world of holistic health and alternative healing opened up to me. And I just stayed in that place of being a researcher, experimenter, scientist on myself. And after a few years, when I hit about 31, 32, I figured it out. And over the course of a year, put a little system together where I customized the diet, and I healed my biomarkers, and I cleansed and detoxed, and I got my sleep habits and my circadian biology and circadian rhythm and my digestion and my hormones all back on track. And then one day I woke up and skin was healed, and that was 12 years ago. And so since then, I've been making content and working with individuals and groups, teaching people what I've learned and trying to help them do the same thing.
Yeah. And I feel like that resonates with a lot of people that listen to the show and the community, that they want this path of self-healing, but it doesn't sound like it was a straight and narrow. And I know you took definitely some twists and turns. Like you and I remember we talked the last time about the whole, like going into the yoga world and the plant-based world and how that was helpful initially. And then it was not so helpful. So maybe we can talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like a firm believer in kind of all paths end up leading to the same place if you actually like put the work in and are honest. And so going plant-based and going vegan for a while was both really bad but awesome because it taught me how to be disciplined with my diet. It taught me how to see what my body was actually doing as far as like digestion and body heat and blood sugar and all of these things that you can actually feel and see your body doing. And on that end, it was great. It helped me out a lot. It also got me from eating standard American to eating only home cooked meals, only whole foods. So great stuff there. The bad side of it is it just long term didn't work for me. I got really emaciated. I was showing all the signs of major nutrient deficiencies. I mean, I'm a 100 and almost 90-pound dude, and I was 154, 150
Ooh,
pounds,
wow.
skinny fat, all and living a perfectly healthy life, lifting weights, doing cardio, doing the same stuff I am now, but 50 pounds heavier sometimes during the year and the same
Wow.
leanness. So it was it was like a holistic, weird adventure that I'm still on. And being honest, the diet stopped working. So what do? You make changes, you adjust, you
Yeah.
refine. So, and that brought me to the last 6 years where I'm at now, where I've experimented with lion diet, carnivore diet, keto, Mediterranean, and all paths lead to the same place, meaning
Mhm.
if you pay attention and you kind of do this right with the customization of the diet, you end up eating a healthy diet that has some variety and the variety works for you. You have the right carbs that work for you, the right fats that work for you. And the one thing that I have learned is that elevated protein almost helps everyone across the board.
Yeah.
And that was majorly game changer for me is getting my protein from as a vegan 60 grams a day per day, maybe to
Yeah.
right now, like I'm well over 200 grams a day. Easy.
Yeah. And the protein is different with when it's plant protein, it's not a complete protein. You kind of have to like mix and match to get all the essential amino acids. And then you've got the issues with anti-nutrients. And there's just a lot of, because I did vegan as well for 2 years, and I would find that, I guess it's a graphic that would show a piece of steak and a piece of broccoli and say you could essentially get all the protein that you needed from the broccoli.
Yeah.
But that's just wrong on so many levels. And
it takes 75 cups of broccoli to equal a ribeye.
then you're missing all,
You're
so many.
missing everything. You're
Yeah.
missing. I mean, I try not to dog on the vegan world just
Yeah.
because it is made up of mostly good people who are trying to be
Yeah.
healthy
They're trying to
and
do the right
trying to
thing.
be good people.
Yeah.
But those of us who've done it for a long time, or those of us who know the practitioners in that world, we know the little tricks and we know the things that they're not sharing.
Mhm.
And protein is one of them. I would almost go so far as to say that there is not a way with a vegan diet you can get a full complete amino acid profile.
I agree. I
Maybe
completely
hemp protein, maybe like isolated pea protein, maybe, but we're not taking into account the
right.
bioavailability,
The
the
bioavailability,
alchemy of digestion and assimilation.
anti-nutrients. Right. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I could never digest the pea proteins. I tried to, and they would just make me bloat up and they were terrible on the gut. So a lot of these protein powders and proteins, like they may not work with your gut and they could actually exacerbate gut issues. And like the ironic thing is a lot of people are doing these diets to promote gut health, and it can go the opposite way, right?
One of the things that I do with all of my new clients is we take away all powdered foods no matter
Mhm.
what. No supplements, no powdered foods for 90 days.
Wow.
Um, because many people supplement and they don't have a reason for it. Like
Hmm.
supplementation can have its place,
Right.
but you need to know where the deficiencies are first to be able to supplement correctly. Because if you're taking a bunch of supplements are powerful, powerful foods, and then you're also trying to organize your diet. You can't tell what the diet's doing when you have
Right.
these isolated nutrients that don't resemble anything in nature, kind of confusing the gut biome.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this kind of a similar principle with my leptin program is I want people to get rid of all the protein powders and all the powders that they're putting in their coffee and they're putting in their drinks. And it's like we don't know the whole process that these powders have been through. There might be heavy metals in there. You also have mostly a lot of artificial sweeteners that can also trick the brain and create a leptin issue. And they're just on so many levels. Like if you need to be pouring powder into your drinks all the time to hit your protein goal, then we have other problems. Like we need to design your daily eating situation so that you can just eat and chew your protein, right? It doesn't, yeah, I have the same similar feeling on all the powders that are super popular these days.
Yeah, people also don't think too much about the, like you said, the process. Like, how did the manufacturing process get this product to my
Yes.
kitchen? And many
Right.
times it's you make a big vat of powder, it sits out for hours, so it's it's going through a process of degradation right there. Then it gets put in a plastic container with a plastic lid that is not air sealed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all the way air sealed. Then it sits off on a shelf, maybe in an air controlled room or not. Then it's shipped in trucks in either freezing weather or bad hot weather. Trucks aren't always air controlled across the country. Then it sits on the shelf. Then you buy it. Like, is the nutrition even still there at all?
Right.
In the
Right.
best case scenario. And it might be, but it might not be at all.
Yeah, I think it's just better to try to stick to whole foods and most of our nutrients, minerals, because everyone kind of obsesses about minerals. And I do have some different formulas that I like for minerals that I think can be really helpful. But what they forget is that you need to have a potassium rich diet. You need to have foods that contain magnesium, selenium, all those things that you can find in wild seafood. And there's so many different nutrients like zinc that we need. And you get a lot of zinc from red meat. And we don't necessarily need to have a ton of supplements if we optimize the diet. Now, yeah, we might have the issue of soil depletion and then we run into some other issues and that might be a situation where some targeted supplementation is needed. But I agree, you got to go back to baseline and cut out all the noise to see what's actually going on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a major player. And far as supplementation goes, the only one that I think is probably safe for everyone at any time because it's at worst benign is a methylated multi. It might be doing nothing, but hey, you are getting your zinc, your K, your potassium, your combinations of the D's and the B vitamins, and for some people that makes it so that, okay, I can stick to the foods that digestionally work for me. And if there's a little nutrient deficiency somewhere, then maybe this can round it out, because there are some people I work with they're just not going to eat oysters. They're not going to eat,
Yeah.
they're not going to eat liver. They might eat some beef, but they're not going to have, 8 ounces or 16 ounces of quality grass-fed beef on a regular basis. So for those people, maybe methylated multi with zinc in it is a better option. But I agree with you. Like, let's see what we can do with whole foods and get a variety of the right nutrient dense, easily digestible whole foods and kind of start the process there.
Yeah, definitely. If you've been in the health and wellness space for any length of time, you have probably heard about Shilajit. Now, I have been hearing about Shilajit for years and was hesitant to try it until the last few months. I took the leap and tried Black Lotus Shilajit because they are a small family-owned company and they are meticulous with their sourcing. A lot of Shilajit products can contain heavy metals and other things that will negate the benefits that are tied to Shilajit, such as cognitive function, improve reproductive health. It's even been shown to reduce and eliminate hot flashes, improve mitochondrial health, and overall energy production. So, definitely feeling a boost in energy. If you are interested in trying out Shilajit, I highly recommend the Black Lotus Shilajit. You can head to blacklotusshilajit.com and use code Sarah K for 15% off the entire site. Well, jumping back to the vegan thing. So, how was that transition? Did you go straight to carnivore? Did you go to a more of a paleo approach? Like, what did that look like? And I know you also had like a pretty big following on YouTube at the time talking about plant-based, correct?
Yeah, luckily for me, the transition publicly for my YouTube channel wasn't that big of a deal because I was a vegan plant-based person that taught the same methodology that I teach now. Customize your diet. I don't care what you eat. I'll help you do it.
Mm.
So I was working with meat eaters and vegans and plant-based people. And to be quite frank, part of why my channel did good is because I spoke out constantly about the vegan community and all of its lies as a
Yeah.
vegan. And so my transition when I stopped being vegan, well, everyone knew I wasn't an activist to begin with because I
Right.
talk crap about vegan activists all the time when I was a vegan. So no one cared about that. Everyone knew I wasn't vegan for the animals anyway. And so, yeah, I got a lot of hate. I came out on podcasts. I just came out and said for the last 6 months, I haven't been making content because, and not to brush over this part of the story, but my partner had a miscarriage and we found out
Oh
she had a
yeah.
miscarriage because she was vegan, period. So that, and my health sucks and has sucked for 2 years. And I've been trying to make this work. The end of story, game over, make the
Didn't you
adjustment.
have some pretty bad dental issues as well?
Yeah, which I'm still 6 years later, still fixing, like
Ugh.
when you have to get 6 teeth removed and you have, multiple surgeries and leading up to that, you had perfect oral hygiene.
Mm.
Yeah, the vegan diet really messed me up. It messed me up hormonally, digestionally, and my teeth health, which is scary because that is showing you what's happening with your
Bones.
bones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I have a lot of pregnant women that start having teeth issues during pregnancy and then after pregnancy. And I'm like, yeah, we got it's caught diet and minerals. I am big on minerals and making sure people have enough of them because, especially during that time of life, because you're literally building a new human. And if your body doesn't have the raw materials to do that, it will stop the process. It'll take from you, it'll take your teeth. And so the dental aspect is just like a canary in the coal mine, I guess you could call it, of the rest of your body, the rest of your health. If you're having issues there, there's a deeper problem going on.
Absolutely. So there was all this writing on the wall that like this isn't going well anymore. Every biomarker was screaming at me to make a change. So I kind of went Mediterranean, high fat, kind of the closest thing to plant based with animal food. So I started eating salmon, beef, bacon, and pasture raised eggs, along with like some salads and some like celery juice here and there. That went on for about a month and just quickly went to carnivore, like boom. um, yeah, like after a month of messing around with keto, I was like, okay, high fat carnivore. And that lasted for about 2 years and was really, really good. 2 years almost completely 100% carnivore with some spurts with lion diet.
Yeah.
Um, was really, hate to sound dramatic and kind of cheesy, but it was life changing. It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like we were carnivore about the same time. That's when I had started watching your videos over on YouTube because I was like looking for more people who were doing the same thing. But you were doing a lot of circadian stuff just naturally at the time too. I remember watching your videos and you're like, today I was outside. Like you would kind of play games with how long you could stay outside, and how many kind of steps you get, how much of the day you could spend standing. Like it wasn't, I think people get into this place where they think it's just about the food, but it's about everything, I think, as a whole. Like you were really doing the circadian stuff, the light stuff, the movement. And I think that contributed to you being successful as well, just from somebody on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. And I don't want to be an alarmist or anything like that, but I will say this, and you can probably back me up on this. Everyone hyper focuses on the diet because it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard for people and
Yeah.
it's the easiest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get the diet is there's nothing to think about. It's so
Right.
easy. And
Right.
then people, okay, once they've gotten the diet part, or once they aren't even obsessed with the diet and they look at everything else I do, and the first thing they say is, how do you have time to do all that? And it's like, what I tell people is, this is my life.
Right.
Not,
Right.
how do you not make the time? Like
It's a priority.
I would rather make $12,000 a year and have my time, and I can figure that out on that budget to be healthy. Free time, my own schedule, my own ownership of my life. Very important.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, I just gamify everything. How do I make this a weird, fun, playful experiment? And when the
Yeah.
experiment gets bored or taxing, or I just don't want to do it anymore, I'll make something else up. And so that allows me to naturally get into the circadian biology, because once you start going outside and playing, you have become a human again, because that's
Right.
what humans are. We're playing men. We're homo ludus. We're not homo sapiens. We're homo ludus. We are the playing man. We learn from play. We master from play. We create from play. We love from play. It's all play based. And when we take the playfulness out of the learning, that's when it sucks. That's when it's like
Yeah.
being a fifth grader and having to sit on a desk and mind your manners. So my circadian biology is an expression of fun most of the time.
Yeah.
It's never discipline or hard work. It's like, oh, I just had a delicious breakfast of high fat foods that taste wonderful. Now I'm going to remove my shirt and walk in a forest. That doesn't take any discipline at all. That's
No,
pretty damn
that's
enjoyable.
exactly. That's everyone's like, how do you wake up for sunrise every single day, all year long? I'm like, I want to. It feels good. It feels good to be outside, even in the wintertime, walking around my backyard. It feels good to eat my breakfast. I mean, I told you we had two snowstorms this year. I was outside on my patio eating my breakfast in the snowstorm. Granted, it's Georgia, so it didn't get like below zero, but I was still able to do that. I was still able to find ways to get outside and stay aligned, even in those more tough times. And it's not, once you sync your body up to it, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and you're like, oh, this is how we're supposed to live. And I don't, yeah, the whole sitting in the desk and sitting like working and doing what someone else wants you to do, that's, I don't know, that's, I don't feel like that's how we're supposed to live as humans. And I think that is leading to a lot of the health problems that people have these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And the part that is challenging for me and why I stay so passionate about this work is it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
This is all stuff, these prisons that we've created for ourselves, our schedules and our job obligations and everything. We've made this up for ourselves.
Mhm.
Yes, society has domesticated us in certain ways and we're going along with it, but each one of us has we're in an amazing time in history where any person can make enough money doing barely any work using the internet so that they don't have to go to a job all day, every day for the rest of their lives. Any person.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time. And whether that's reading pamphlets and giving your opinion, okay, well, that's doing that on your time is better than going and working at Geico.
I know. I know. It's tough. It's a mindset shift too that people have to undergo with their health, period. For me, I had to start seeing success with my health. And like, I think 2020 was my year, 2020, 2021, when everything started shifting and I started to see bigger possibilities, you know? And I think once you can step outside of that realm, like with you, it's probably been, and correct me if I'm wrong, like a journey of like, hey, I healed my skin. I never, that this was something that was impossible, felt horrible, ruined my life for so many years. So I can figure out how to work for myself. So I can figure out how to live this life I really dream of. I think health is and diet, right, is kind of this gateway to other things in your life. And that's something I talk with my private community about is like, I'm getting you to do these things, but it's going to open other doors for you.
100%. And I think part of what you might be hitting on is like what I call like serotonin Steve versus dopamine Dave. Like dopamine Dave is obese, has cancer, and dies at 55 of a heart attack.
Mhm.
Serotonin Steve is mellow, muscular, has great sex, and he's 95 years old. What's the difference? We are dopamine chasing in society
Mhm.
constantly with our social media and our Netflix and just constantly chasing the dopamine with everything we
Instant
do.
gratification.
Right. And
Yeah.
that is not fun in terms of this vicious cycle. And when you actually take the year or the 6 months or the 2 years to go through the process of getting healthier, you tap into a serotonin system that then makes things like going to bed at 9:30 really pleasurable and not like,
Yes.
I don't want to go to bed. And you're like, oh, yeah, I get to go to bed. Or waking
Yes.
up early. I don't set an alarm. My body wakes up after sleeping 8 straight hours of not going to pee, having amazing dreams. I wake up and I'm like actually in a good mood. And I go, you know what I feel like doing? Going outside. It's nice
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
It's not an obligation. You rewind the clock 15 years ago, and every morning I was waking up, rushing to the toilet with anxiety and having to deal with
Mhm.
IBS.
Mhm.
Two different worlds.
Yeah.
Discipline and dopamine over here. And then there's just tapping into circadian rhythm, your natural health, and what your body wants is to be in a serotonin state and relaxed and just thriving. Like that's what it's trying to thrive enough to make babies all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I feel the same way. It's like I look at myself even 6 years ago, like completely different life. I would go to bed scrolling my phone, keep the phone right next to me, plugged in next to my head. First thing I would do in the morning, pick up the phone, start scrolling, go, go, go on full blue light, no blue blockers, no red phone screen, just like blast the face, scroll for 15 minutes, then make my way out of bed, stumble in the kitchen, pour myself coffee, and just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And
I can absolutely relate.
miserable. And I think about it and I'm like, that's what most people are still doing. Like they just don't know their body is not wired to do that on a biological level. Even that simple thing of it bookending your day that way is massively ruining your neurotransmitters, your circadian health, your biological clock, your gut health. Like it all is so connected, your hormones, it's all connected. And if you want a different life, and that can start with your health, you have to change these very fundamental things. Of course, diet's a gateway drug, but now I'm like, change your light first. Change these things first. And then the diet's not going to be so hard once you get your neurotransmitters back on board and get your dopamine system fixed, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think people starting a journey or really anytime, like what's the low hanging fruit? It's not hard to change your light bulbs. It's not
Mm-mm.
hard to buy a pair of cheesy blue blocking glasses and wear them more
Mm-hmm.
often. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that hard to say, okay, we're going to end Netflix 30 minutes earlier than normal and just read in bed instead of Netflix while we
Mm-hmm.
try to fall asleep. Little tiny easy things like that. They stack up. They really do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make the harder things like, okay, getting to the gym enough or whatever your exercise routine is. And then the diet, which takes a lot of time and energy. It just does at the beginning.
Yeah,
And
it does.
if you're running around like a crazy person doing all this other BS, good luck trying to figure out the diet.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to be that much harder. Or you're going to be one of these people who's constantly on the wagon, off the wagon. And that was me. It was like, I'm either losing 20 pounds or I'm gaining 30 pounds. It's like, which one are we getting? Are we getting someone who's up at night binge eating? My husband said he would hear the microwave close like 9:30 at night. He'd hear like clinking in a glass, the microwave shutting, and he'd be like, oh, she's shit, like she's putting M&Ms in the microwave. It's that kind of night.
Been there, done that.
You put them in there for 30 seconds and they melt just until they crack perfectly. And then you eat them and they just melt in your mouth perfectly. And then you
It's
wake up the next morning feeling like death and you wonder why you didn't sleep and you were sweating all night. Oh,
And I remember the glory days too. It's kind of amazes me when I work with people. I forget this, and this is something I have to like remind myself all the time. Is like people don't know how bad they feel. Like
no.
I didn't realize when I was 20 how shitty I felt all the
Right.
time until
Right.
I was 35 and feeling good all the time.
Right.
And people even after just a month of doing a little bit better are like, man, I am way worse than I thought I was. I'm not doing great. Like every area is not good. Sleep is pretty shitty and my digestion every morning is not great. And like I don't feel like having sex with anybody and I haven't
Yeah.
lifted a weight in months. And it's like it's tough. And
Yeah.
but it's tough until it's not. And then it's really
Right.
easy.
Right. Right. You start to feel better and you want to do these things. And that's what the wish I have for everybody is that you get into these good habits, you start feeling better and you want to continue it. For me, I don't want to go back to IBS. I don't want to go back to 30 pounds overweight and like my legs would be the first that would put on weight. And just in the summer, like I couldn't wear shorts because my legs were just uncomfortable. Like they were uncomfortably big. Um, and I don't want to go back there, and it doesn't mean I have to punish myself or restrict myself. It's like, no, I'm going to lean into these healthy habits I've created that are really enjoyable and continue to wake up and do these. And it's just the consistency, not perfection. That's one thing I say a lot is just like every day, let's just be consistent. And that's how your body, I think, heals and gets more resilient. Um, Especially the gut, because we haven't really touched on it as much, but you've alluded to it a few times, but the gut and eczema are very, very correlated, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think also in a way, it's because of reasons that maybe are a little mysterious to people. So the logical thing would be like, okay, the skin is having issues and the gut biome's off in some way. So healing the gut biome, it does good things for the entire body, which is true. And what you hear in the kind of eczema communities or psoriasis communities a little bit is like, oh, you just heal the gut and the skin goes away. And it's like, no, you don't get, you're not understanding what's the gut, the door to the autonomic nervous system. That's why we use it. It is a food-based thing, but
Mhm.
eat healthy for a year and don't customize it and watch your skin do nothing. You know,
Right,
you have to,
right,
you have to actually leverage the food in the right way to make the biology shift and do certain things to start the healing process. But we have to get to the autonomic nervous system. And there's only really two ways to do it. It's through the gut and it's through things that initiate the fight or flight response: heat, cold exposure, high intensity training, heavy weights. There isn't much else. Maybe getting in a fight or a dog chasing you, but good luck trying to replicate that in a safe way daily.
right. So that's what it would look like for somebody that came to you. It's like, hey, I've got all the, eczema, psoriasis, I have these skin issues. You would first start to optimize their diet. Like, let's just take an example of a client that you typically see, maybe a common one. What does that look like?
Yeah, common intake goes over history of medication, supplementation, traumas, both physical, mental, emotional, your diet, and just your basic lifestyle. When you go to bed, how much you sleep, what do you do to deal with stress, how active are you, how much do you walk, all of that stuff. With the diet, generally what we do is first things is remove all the known trigger foods. And the trigger foods, I work a different system than what else is out there. My system comes directly from working with well over 3,000 people over a decade and having over 800 current students right now. So I just look right at the data and it's pretty straightforward. There's a list of foods we want to avoid. We get rid of those foods first.
Mhm.
Boom, start there. Then what we want to do is we want to ask ourselves, can this person tolerate carbs or not? And there's a really easy way to determine this. Three questions. Number one, are you a carb addict? And if it's yes, then you don't get to move, you don't get any carbs for a while, zero.
Mm.
Because if you're an addict, you don't get the drug. Keep in mind, there's only one non-essential nutrient. It's carbohydrate. Not saying carbs are bad; they're great, but they're
Yeah.
not essential. So, if you pass go and you're not a carb addict, then we go to the question number two: is okay, what types of carbs work for me? Is it vegetables, or is it fruit, or is it starches, or is it dairy? We don't know. Got to find that out. Then number three is what's the amount of carbs that makes my biochemistry the best? Is it 200 grams plus? Is it under 200 grams? Is it 50 grams or under? Or is it zero? Or is it like 5 or 10? Then once we've answered that, then we also look at their past tendencies, the foods they'd like to eat, and we create a very safe, simple, minimal diet that's nutrient dense. And like I said, all safe foods. Then for 30 to 60 days, we eat those foods consistently and we monitor what the body's doing, the biomarkers, and we track it. That's called the baseline. Once you've created the baseline with safe foods, this means that after a month or 2 months, I've eaten these foods and my body is doing this exact thing measurable. Cool. Now we can customize. Now, slowly, what we do is we change the macros around to see what it does to the biomarkers. Oh, we went super low carb and high fat, and the biomarkers went to crap. Okay, let's
Mhm.
adjust to lower fat, higher carb. Oh, the body's responding really good. Cool. We run that for a while. Then we start testing different food options. We bring in more vegetables or more animal options or whatever, and slowly work our way through every food, every possible macro range and calories, and we get to a place where we know here's where your protein needs to be, here's where your carbs and fats do the best, and here's how many calories you should be in the range of, here's the foods to eat, here's the foods to avoid. And if you get a person to that level of clarity with their diet, they are going to be in a great place. They're going to be in a real great place.
Nice. And do you do any kind of detox protocols, supplementation protocols? Because I know, antibiotic use, dysbiotic gut, these sorts of things can also lead to skin issues. So do you address anything like that, like functional testing, or you try to just go at it from a more holistic place?
Yeah, so I have noticed that the biomarkers always beat labs, meaning your body's giving you signals before labs can ever
That's
computate what's going
agree.
on across
Agree.
the board every damn time.
Yeah.
And I have argued with doctors about this, and so far I'm like 10 out of 10 in my experiments with doctors. Like, so no labs, and I actually tell people like, tell your doctor you're not doing labs for a year. Come back in a year. Like, you're not going to die.
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
you're going to be better off avoiding a doctor completely, avoiding the office, avoiding saying the word, avoiding the billing, avoiding them. Um, Now, do we worry about gut dysbiosis and
Mhm.
like attacking all of those problems? No, because 99% of the time by month 2, they're all working themselves out just because you're eating the right foods and not triggering stuff.
Mhm.
Now, is there a possibility of harsh dysbiosis or parasite issues or candida overgrowth? Sure, absolutely. After about a month, we set that baseline. You have a obvious knowledge of that. Okay,
Mhm.
my every biomarker improved, but my digestion and stomach. Okay, we have something going on. We have to address it further. What are the symptoms? They're always obvious.
Mhm.
And if it's bacteriofungal, we do a certain protocol, cleansing, detox, maybe a supplement or two. If it's something like candida or dysbiosis, it's a different protocol. So start with the diet. And we also do start with some basic gentle cleansing. Like, everyone doesn't need to be heavy detoxing, but
Mhm.
everyone at the beginning of the healing process needs to get the lymph moving, the circulation
Mhm.
moving, the intestines cleaned out, and the filtration organs. You got to get the junk out of there because there is stuff stuck in there for most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, my partner Carrie and I talk about this a lot of with the detoxing and the parasites and all these different pathogens and candida and even H. pylori, which I'm sure you get a lot of people that talk to you about that as well. We find in a lot of the other practitioners that we work with as well that work with clients, when we can get the foundations down, we get their light environment, we get them sleeping again, we get detox pathways like opened the natural way through again sleep, movement, hydration, building exclusion zone water, through sunlight, through grounding, that like natural gentle things, maybe some red light therapy, that a lot of issues tend to self-correct.
I
And
I would go so far as, this might be a little bit of a bold statement, but I've made it before. And to me, like parasites and dysphagia, those are all symptoms
yes,
from a bad
yeah,
inner terrain. When you terrain
yes.
modify and you have a healthy nervous system, you have a healthy immune system, and your gut biome works properly, guess what? There isn't any risk of parasites, immune stuff, mold, that stuff. Your body laughs at that stuff when it's healthy, like literally laughs at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talk about as exclusion zone water. And the nature of that is it excludes things from the mitochondria. That's basically its job. And people look at health through, and even in the functional world, through this biochemical lens, of like this compound and this supplement and this protocol, wipe all of this out. And they don't take into account that number one, we have this beautiful process of exclusion zone water around the cells and the inner membrane and outer membrane of the mitochondria surrounding each of those respiratory proteins where we make cellular water and ATP, like the things everyone talks about for mitochondria. We have all these beautiful mechanisms. And if we can support that process, then we are more resilient because I think everybody has a degree of parasites. Everybody gets exposed to mold. And there's interesting. I've been through Tom Cowan's program and he talks about those things existing to basically get rid of like things inside of the body that aren't supposed to be there, like they're healing. But it's people get very passionate about the parasites and the mold and all these things. And yeah, I think they can create issues for people. But when you can get the system more resilient, I don't know that you need to go through the harsh detoxing and wiping out. And I've seen it actually cause more issues for people, and they've spent a lot of money on it as well.
Absolutely. And it's one of the biggest issues with the vegan community is like, if you're not having success, they say you're doing it wrong, cleanse more, cleanse, 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 cleanse. And it's
Well, the vegan diet is cleansing for heaven's sake.
chemo, the chemo diet. That's what it is. That's the kind of, it, it's a thing where when people start to, get that idea of like, oh, if my immune health and if my foundational health things are really on point, then these symptoms that I used to be calling root issues, they just aren't there. So a story about that can paint this picture really clearly. I used to have a really close friend who's a special person that needs help. He's a rad dude, but is a handful. And I am someone who helps him on a weekly basis. And not anymore because this is in California, but I would go to his house and it was so moldy. There's literally black
Uh,
mold coming out of the walls. He had cats and all sorts of stuff. And I would flare up every time I would leave.
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Then I healed my skin and would go to his house and nothing would happen at all. Zero. Nothing would happen. No tingles, no itching, no flare ups, no nothing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I see this with my clients all the time. They're like hyper obsessed. Like, I need to like remove my carpets and spend
Yes.
$20,000 removing the
Yes.
mold. Yeah,
Yes.
you should get rid of the mold and keep your house clean, but like maybe get the immune health better and then see where symptoms are at that point.
Yeah. You have to fix the foundation, but it's hard. I think for some people, we've been so conditioned with our health and we are maybe more addicted to comfort and the dopamine and all those things that it seems like it's going to be way too hard to make the changes. But once you start doing it, once you start feeling better, you're going to want to continue to make the changes and to feel better. And it's not going to be an on the wagon, off the wagon kind of thing. It's just going to be your lifestyle. And that's my hope and wish for everybody is that it becomes just a lifestyle. This is just how I live. And this is things I don't do. This just stays in the bucket of no,
Yeah.
and then there's like, okay, sure, and maybe there's a little deviation. Sometimes you dip your toe into the no bucket every now and then, but it doesn't sink the whole ship, right?
Well, and also like when you're at the place where you're at or I'm at, when I dip my toe into the dark side, all that it ever does is remind me how boring and shitty
Um,
the dark side is. Like, this is not even fun for me. Like, what am I
right,
doing? Like,
right.
I remember now after one bite of this disgusting caramel banana flake cheesecake from wherever the hell I'm at, like I instantly feel 500 pounds. I instantly feel like I need to go to the bathroom. I instantly feel an upset stomach. No thanks. Like, there's nothing about this. This is worth it. No
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets to a point where certain things, it just doesn't register as food. Like I'll be super hungry and I might be over at a friend or relative's house and they've got like Cheetos and, all the packaged foods, all the packaged snacks, like Little Debbie cakes and juice, packaged juice. And I'm hungry, but that to me it doesn't compute. It's like that's not food. Like that would not fix the issue that we're having right now.
No, it
you know
wouldn't.
it's your software just changes to the point where it's like, no, it's not going to be, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You'd eat the Cheetos and
you
even
still
if
feel
they tasted
hungry.
okay, yeah, you're just still hungry and you just
Yeah.
ate, a bunch of empty carbohydrates and 500 calories of a handful of food. And you're like, starving still, more hungry now, actually, because
Right.
my dopamine addiction brain just got turned on. And now I want
Exactly.
donuts bad.
Exactly. Yeah. It's better to just fast. That's where you got to work on your metabolic flexibility. And that's one thing I've seen on I used to watch your videos a lot on YouTube when you would do like a ton of them. And you've done some interesting stuff with fasting as well, right?
Yeah, I've run the gamut with fasting, intermittent fasting, OMAD, cyclical carb cycling, once a week water fasting, eat, stop, eat, 11-day water fast.
Yeah. I
I've
remember
done,
your 11-day water fast.
yeah, I've done a lot of it. And I think where I'm at right now with fasting is for the right people, fasting is amazing. And for the wrong people, it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
And just to be honest, most women who are not overweight don't fast.
Yeah,
You
I agree. I
much
agree.
better, much. What I've actually found is a protein sparing diet. So basically, you eat lean protein for a few days only. It's boring. It's disgusting. I like it, but for some people don't like it. You get everything out of that you do at what a water fast, but you get nutrients and calories, and your lean body mass, your muscle mass, and your skeletal tissue doesn't disintegrate.
Hank. Yeah. Yeah. I don't do a ton of fasting anymore. I used to love fasting, but every now and then I just don't eat dinner. But I won't, I don't think I've done anything over 24 hours since I had my son 2.5 years. I mean, since before, because when I was trying to get pregnant, I was doing some fasting for mitochondrial health. I did some dry fasting. I did some 72-hour fasting. I was like, I got to fix my mitochondria. And I think it can be really, really helpful for cancer, for anyone who's struggling with mitochondrial health. If you do it the right way and know how to replenish those nutrients, I think fasting is awesome. But you can
Especially if you're fasting and you're going barefoot outside and getting sun, then now it's a game changer. If you want to
heck yeah.
fast, don't do it in the dead of winter if you live in Wisconsin. Like, do it
No.
in the summer, get sunburned, get cozy outside,
Yep.
drink the right water. And the thing about water fasting is take a break from your socials, man. Don't
Yeah.
mitochondria is going through that experience. Don't be pumping yourself with BS. Like, read and watch really lovely, soft comedies and documentaries. Like, keep it gentle, keep it chill.
Yeah.
It's something that I beat my clients over the head with all the time is like, we nourish ourselves to health.
Yeah.
Nourish, nourish,
Yeah.
nourish. It's not about take away, subtract, subtract. No, it's about getting sun, not avoiding sun. It's about
Right.
eating protein, not don't eat that. It's just do more of this, not take away everything. If you're doing all the stuff, you don't have time for the other stuff. It's just
Right.
natural.
Right. You have to nourish the mind too. You have to reprogram the mind, or you're going to, again, go back to that on the wagon, off the wagon thing. Like, you have to literally reprogram how you look at the world, how you look at everything. Like, I always, people listen to the podcast, they know when I was trying to get pregnant and I was trying to reprogram my mitochondria and just like fix everything with sunlight and a little bit of fasting and just all the outdoor time, I was listening to Louise Hay all the time. Like, I just would put her on, I would download a bunch of her stuff off YouTube, put my phone on airplane mode, put her on speaker, and just like walk for hours and just listen to that in my head constantly. And Louise helped me so much. Now I listen to different people. Now I'm more into Neville Goddard right now, but I'm always like, I have to plant seeds in my head. I have to be in control of what's programming me. Because if I go on the phone and I do the scrolling and then I read my Facebook comments and I just like, it's brain rot, and then all of a sudden I feel angry and resentful and not in control of my life anymore. It's like, oh, what am I feeding my brain? What am I looking at? What am I doing? So you got to control that other piece as well.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. One of the things that I'm always doing with myself as just a normal part of being healthy that I do with my clients, this is first month stuff, is what parts of our environment do we have influence over that we're not making as nice as it could be? Like, is your house, like cluttered,
Dirty.
messy and driving you nuts? Like, clean it,
Yeah.
like keep it
Yeah.
ultra clean and is your living room something that is, like has some old carpets, or like make it beautiful and comfortable
Mhm.
and inviting, and like, are the people you invite into your life, are they stressing you out and sabotaging you? Or are they like good people? And these things people kind of get stuck in, but they make as much of a difference as the food does.
Yes. Yeah, they do. It's your entire diet. We are like, food is the gateway. I keep saying it, but it's such a small portion of your overall health. You can't eat crap. You can't, like we said, eat the Cheetos and crap. You have to still give your body the proper nutrients and the right building blocks, but you also have to give your mind the right building blocks, your skin, your everything, your eyes, everything has to get the right signals and the right input for you to have optimal health. And then it just goes way beyond health. I've had people manifest their dream job. I've had people be able to quit their job and start their own business. And, it just started with the circadian work and with the food. It's like, that's just the beginning, y'all. And I get so bored of talking about just the food. There's so much else out there that you need to do in order to really live a full life, I think.
Yeah, I I can relate to that fully. I personally don't think or research food at all, but it is a big topic because
Huge.
it's so tribal and it's such a deep part of people's lives.
Mhm.
And so I think that, when you do kind of focus in on that and get that worked out, like you said, it's a gateway to that's a definitely a gateway to a lot of different things. And the honest truth is if you can customize and master your diet, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
a business, quit your job, do whatever. Like look at both of us. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't have told me when I was 20 years old that I would be a skin health coach practitioner who also makes content
Yeah.
and am financially super good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I actually am living my dream life. Like I do
Yeah.
exactly what I want and I get to help people.
Yeah. It's
And
so funny. I told my husband, like, when I was a kid, I used to go in the bathroom, and we found like tapes of it in my mom's house of me when I was 5, and would have my own talk show.
that is so funny. I used to pretend that I was Larry Bird and that a team of documentary people were following me watching my sports. And I'd be like, and my mom would be like, "What are you doing?" I'd be like, "Oh, the documentary crew's here." And then my mom would be like, same kind of thing, like already knowing subconsciously preparing for what we were going to be doing in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. It's cool. So think back to when you were a kid, what lit you up, what was fun for you. And I think that's part of an adult kind of coming into your own and finding what works for you. And it can shift and it can change. It doesn't always have to look the same, but it's funny to look back on things like that. And
Totally.
yeah.
The other part of that it's interesting and kind of going off on a tangent, but it's fun is like, what are you naturally good at? Meaning, like, what's a skill that is hard for other people, but for you it's stupidly easy? Do
Yes.
that. Do
Yes.
that for your job. Trust me, you'll make great money and it won't be challenging. And you can.
Yes.
It's like, what am I good at? Communicating with people and talking and logically thinking and doing physical stuff. So that's what I do all day, every day.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key to happiness. And I think that's tough. Everyone doesn't get that opportunity, and everyone doesn't, because I don't know that they know it's possible. But yeah, we were at a place, I share this a lot in my private community when I have meetings with them, but even just a decade ago, we didn't have money for Christmas dinner. We had negative money in the bank. I was a yoga teacher making 25 bucks a class. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes no one would show up and I would make zero.
Yep.
I had driven all the way to the studio and set up, and it's just a different life. And it started because this life started because I chose different for myself. And I started listening to this little voice inside of me that said things could be different. And I believed it. And I just let that take me down a different path. And so, we're talking about skin health, we're talking about health, but it doesn't have to just be a new diet, a new protocol. And if you get stuck there, that's what you're going to be, is stuck.
Right.
There's so much more.
And also, like when we talk about skin health, what people hear is like overcoming eczema or cystic acne. And what I hear is just thriving.
Yes.
All of this is basic human stuff that all of us, it's just laid out right there for us all to do. And if you want to thrive, you tap into it. And if you want to
Yeah.
continue to not thrive, then just don't.
Right. And argue for your limitations and criticize others. That's a great way, because I'm sure we'll get criticism because this will go on YouTube. So there always has to be at least one person. It's like,
It's
that's
always,
that what people don't realize, when you criticize others and when you put that hatred onto other people, it's only a reflection of you, and it's only going to hold you back. That's only hurting you. It's not hurting the other person at the end of the day. It's keeping you further away from your purpose. It's keeping you further away from your happiness. And it has nothing to do with who's on the screen. And when I read those comments, I'm like, yeah, they probably made like 20 comments like that on like a bunch of pages. It's not just me. And if I block them, they're just going to keep doing it. It's just, it's unfortunate, but I
Mhm.
think people, and it's a mindset shift I had to make. I always bring up my fertility journey, but when I was struggling to get pregnant and I would see other women get pregnant, I would get jealous, and I
Yeah.
would have a lot of feelings of like, why does she get to have a baby and I don't? Why does she not have to suffer with pregnancy loss, and she doesn't have to suffer with all this stuff. And this sucks, and I would be like, I'm not going to her baby shower, screw her. And like, how dare she even invite me? And I shifted at some point at those last few months before I got pregnant. And I started like saying, thank you. I'm so excited for you, and genuinely feeling joy and excitement for that other person. Even if it was a stranger, somebody I saw online, I'm so happy for her. That's so
100.
freaking amazing. And I think that if you're stuck and struggling with your health, that's another thing you have to look at. Are you constantly looking at other people and saying, well, they have that because of and criticizing them and trying to put them down? That's actually impacting you and your ability to heal. And that message is, I don't know. I think people need to take a step back and look at themselves when they're out there talking crap about other people.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And to piggyback off that, I come from a background of behavioral science and psychology, and I've studied NLP, and the way people say things and what they say is very important to me. And when I'm talking to someone and I include that in the comment section, I don't so much listen to the words, but I try to figure out what they're wanting me to know about them.
Mm,
And a lot of times criticism, the thing about criticism is what they're wanting me to know is that I'm frustrated because I can't figure this out and you have.
yes.
And so I answer from that place and I never talk about the criticism. I will gently remind them of something, you know, look, you have every right to be upset. You probably have bad skin. That's why you're watching my video. But listen, you're missing the main point because your anger is not allowing you to see the forest for the trees. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I have found that for me, it allows me to take, and I take some brutal punishment. We all do as content
Yeah.
creators.
Oh, yeah.
I can now look at that and not have it trigger me.
Mm,
And now I can teach my clients like, hey, if the critic in you is just firing on all cylinders constantly, ask yourself the same question I ask people within myself who I'm talking to. What are you trying to tell yourself? What is it that you can extrapolate from this behavior that you're doing? And a lot of times it just really does have to go with someone is triggering something in me that's unsettled,
mm.
and I need to give it some nourishment and attention and some love. you know,
Yeah. Yeah. If you can
Same
look
with
at it,
defensiveness.
yeah, look at it from a place of compassion. It's hard to be on the receiving end. I just end up blocking people. But
Yeah, if I can feel, if I can get to that place where the better part of me sees the deeper hurting, and I'll address that. Other times, I don't have a problem being a little funny and poking at people to get a response and making it more of a joke, or making it a little like a little funny spat. And I
yeah,
try to be hopefully obviously joking enough to where maybe they're getting mad, but the public can see, dude, he's trolling you, he's messing with you, like. Don't you get it? Like he's not taking you seriously.
right, right. And I always respect that about creators. Like as much as people like give him flack, but Dave Asprey is hilarious about that. Like
He is. He can't not comment back. It's the
he's
funniest
a
thing.
massive troller. Like he's trolled my posts before, and I think it's freaking hilarious. And it's pissed people off. Like I did one about fasting recently, and he was like, "Oh no, you did this totally wrong." And I knew he was joking, and I thought I laughed so hard when he commented on my post. But all these people, oh my gosh, everybody got so mad. Oh, Dave Asprey is a piece of crap. What a jerk. What a dickhead. I'm like, I don't realize he's trolling. Like the yeah.
Right. And well, a funny thing that I tell people too, or I'll bring them through a line of questioning. Like I'll joke around, trick them into thinking I'm really into what they're saying. Like, oh my God, wow, you're blowing my mind. I've never thought of it from that unique perspective. And then ask like an open-ended question. So they have to like write a lot and then just keep asking them and just keep asking them. And then at the end go, dude, I just baited you. This was an algorithm boost. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for commenting on my comment.
Thanks
Yeah.
for making my comments go from 5 to 40. Appreciate it.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Well, this has been so much fun. I feel like there's so many valuable bits of information in the conversation. Is there anything we didn't talk about today that you think we should? Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, people can find me, my socials. I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram. My websites, the group course that I offer is called healeczemaandpsoriasis.com, and then my private coaching website is the the original eczema coach. Man, that's a mouthful.com as well. And man, what I'd leave people with, or what I always want to leave people knowing deeply, is that it doesn't matter how far gone you think you are, the
Mhm.
body is built to thrive and it wants to. And you can make some small little changes one at a time, take your time, do it slow, enjoy the process. And a year from now, be living a completely different life that you enjoy. Like
Yeah.
everyone can achieve that. 1 year, that's all it takes. 1 year of consistent effort. You don't even have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything right. Just have to have a trajectory that makes sense and stay with it and do it for a year. And I can guarantee you do it for a year, you'll do it forever.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, I'll make sure I have everything down in the show notes so people can find you. And this has just been a ton of fun. We'll definitely have to do it again in the future. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Sarah. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to the Evolving Wellness Podcast. Just a quick little reminder, this is not medical advice nor meant to be taken as a substitute for working one-on-one with a healthcare practitioner. And if you enjoy the show, please head on over to Apple or Spotify to leave the show up to a 5-star review. If you're over on YouTube, please leave us a like, leave us a comment. I really appreciate you for being here, for listening to the show, and your support means the world to me as I continue to try to pull guests from around the world to bring you informative content to empower you to make decisions about your own health. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.